They told me this recording shouldn't exist anymore. It was listed as corrupted in the evidence log, and officially it was erased years ago. But what you're about to hear is exactly what was left on that tape, and why the case was quietly closed without explanation. In the fall of 2011, a 32-year-old man named Daniel Harper moved into a small rental house outside Dayton, Ohio. Nothing about him stood out. No criminal record, no history of mental illness. He worked remotely in data entry and barely spoke to his neighbors. The house he rented had been vacant for almost a year, but the landlord said that wasn't unusual for that area. The first strange thing happened 3 weeks after Daniel moved in. He called the property management office to complain about noise. Not loud music, not people. He said someone was walking through the house at night. Specifically, he said the footsteps always started in the hallway and stopped outside his bedroom door. When they asked if he wanted the police, Daniel hesitated. He said, "I don't think they're breaking in. I think they're already inside." The manager assumed it was stress and suggested changing the locks. Daniel did, twice. A week later, the neighbors noticed Daniel had stopped leaving the house. His car stayed parked in the driveway. Lights stayed on at night. During the day, the curtains were always closed. One neighbor said she saw him standing at the window once, not moving, just watching the street for several minutes before stepping back into the darkness. Then came the second call. This time, Daniel called 911. The audio from that call is incomplete, but what remains is unsettling. He sounds calm at first, too calm. He tells the dispatcher that someone is in his house again. When she asks where the person is, he says, "They don't stay in one place. They move when I stop looking." The dispatcher asks if he can see anyone. There's a pause, then Daniel says, "No, but they're closer now." Police were dispatched, but by the time they arrived, Daniel had hung up. Officers searched the house, no signs of forced entry, no one inside, no footprints, no open windows. Daniel apologized and said he must have imagined it. The officers noted that he looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. After that, Daniel stopped calling for help. Instead, he started recording. Investigators later found dozens of audio files saved on his computer. Most were recorded late at night. In the beginning, they were short, a few minutes of silence, broken by Daniel whispering notes to himself. He talked about the sounds returning, soft movements, breathing that didn't match his own. He said the house felt full, like the air itself was crowded. As the recordings continued, Daniel's voice changed. He started speaking more quietly, as if afraid of being overheard. He described shadows that didn't line up with the light, rooms that felt slightly different every morning. He said doors seemed farther away than they should be. In one recording, he laughs nervously and says, "I think they don't like being noticed." That file ends abruptly. The final recording is the one authorities tried to erase. It begins with Daniel breathing heavily. He's whispering, but not in fear. More like concentration. He says he figured something out. He says the house isn't haunted. He says it's occupied. According to Daniel, whatever was in the house wasn't hiding. It simply didn't exist the same way he did. He said it only appeared when he expected it not to, that when he turned away it got closer. When he watched carefully, it stayed still. Then his voice cracks. He says, "They're learning." At this point, there's a sound in the background. It's faint but consistent, like something shifting weight. Daniel stops talking and holds his breath. The sound continues, slow, deliberate. After several seconds, Daniel whispers, "They're standing where I was standing." There's panic now. He starts moving, breathing faster, telling himself to stay calm. He says the hallway feels longer, that the walls don't look right. He keeps repeating, "Don't look away, don't look away." Then something changes. Daniel suddenly goes quiet. When he speaks again, his voice is flat, distant. He says, "They want me to see it from their side." The recording doesn't capture what he sees, but his reaction is immediate. He starts crying, not loudly, but like someone trying to stay silent. He says he understands now. He says the house isn't the problem, it's the boundary. The last clear sentence on the tape is this: "When I stop watching them, I don't come back." There's a loud noise after that, not a crash, not a scream. Just a sharp distortion, like the microphone being overwhelmed all at once. Then silence. When police were sent to the house for a welfare check the next morning, Daniel Harper was gone. His car was still in the driveway. His wallet, phone, and keys were inside. The house showed no signs of a struggle, no blood, no damage, nothing missing, nothing added. But one detail stood out. Every mirror in the house had been turned to face the wall. The case was eventually classified as a voluntary disappearance, though no one could explain why someone would leave everything behind without a trace. The audio files were marked as unreliable due to mental health factors. Most of them were deleted, except one. The final recording still exists in the private evidence archive. And according to a technician who reviewed it years later, there's something the original investigators missed. In the last seconds of silence after Daniel stopped speaking, there's another sound. Extremely quiet. Almost impossible to hear unless you amplify it. It sounds like breathing, but not just one person. The technician didn't notice it at first. The final recording had already been reviewed dozens of times over the years. It was cataloged, time-stamped, and marked as non-actionable. Most investigators stopped listening once Daniel's voice disappeared. Silence, after all, was easy to dismiss, but the technician was tasked with restoring damaged audio for a completely unrelated case. He ran the file through newer software, isolating frequencies that hadn't been accessible in 2011. When he boosted the gain at the very end of the tape, he expected nothing but static. Instead, he heard movement. At first, it did sound like breathing, irregular, layered, too close to the microphone. But as the audio cleaned further, a pattern emerged. The breaths weren't synchronized. They overlapped slightly, like several people standing too close together, inhaling at different intervals. Then came something worse. Between the breaths, there were pauses, moments where the sound dropped just low enough to reveal faint vocal strain. Not words, not language. More like the sound of a throat adjusting, as if something unfamiliar was preparing to speak. The technician froze the waveform. There was no physical way Daniel could have produced those sounds. The microphone was stationary. The file metadata showed no splicing, no compression artifacts, no second track. Whatever was recorded had been present in the room. The technician reported his findings to a supervisor. The supervisor escalated it. Within 48 hours, the file was reclassified. Access was restricted. The technician was instructed not to discuss the recording again. He didn't listen. A week later, he returned to the file on his own. This time, he noticed something else. The breathing wasn't random. When the file was slowed down, the pattern mirrored Daniel's breathing from earlier in the recording, but delayed, as if something had been listening, practicing, matching his rhythm, learning how to breathe like him. That was the moment the technician shut the file down. He requested a transfer the next day. The house outside Dayton was sold shortly after. Renovated, stripped down to the studs, new drywall, new floors, new electrical. The mirrors were reinstalled. Everything looked normal. The new owners reported no issues for the first month. Then they mentioned the hallway. They said it felt longer at night. They said footsteps sometimes stopped outside the bedroom door. Not pacing, not wandering, just standing there, waiting. One of them started sleeping with the lights on. The other refused to look into mirrors after dark. They moved out before the lease was up. No further complaints were filed. Officially, Daniel Harper was never found. No remains, no sightings, no digital activity after the night of the recording. He vanished so completely that, on paper, it was as if he'd never existed at all. But there's one final note attached to the case file. Years after the disappearance, during a routine system migration, an automated integrity check flagged the original audio file. The checksum didn't match. The file hadn't been opened. It hadn't been edited. Yet it was larger than it had been before, by just a few seconds. No one has listened to those added seconds. Because if Daniel was right, if whatever crossed that boundary learned by being observed, then listening again might not just be hearing a recording. It might be watching something that's been waiting for someone to look away.